rare and balanced view on politics in today's world.
Oh, goodness. Hello, everybody. I hope you're there. Um, hmm. Yeah. Okay, good help. That's funny. That is funny. All right. Well, yeah, we were a little bit behind tonight. In case you haven't noticed. Not by anybody's fault, per se. But, waiting. Shouldn't be waiting here. Going there, so that's good. But hang on, I'll be right back. Okay. I don't know which one is which, so I have to kind of play it by. Yeah, that way. There we go. Ah. Oh. Ah, okay. All right. Here I am. Yes, play it again, Sam. Oh boy. All right. Yeah, I can't get good help. I know. All right, guys. So basically, I was running behind on my gathering of all my gear, and my thing lit off. Don't be surprised if you see something flip again here in just a minute. Because yeah, you know all those auto things that I put into play, you know, all the automatic stuff that I use. Yeah, that goes out the window whenever things don't work out. So, here you go. Apologies. Some of this stuff isn't work quite the way that we want. Anyway, I'm still setting up here. I'm also kind of waiting to see if the automatic stuff kicks over, kicks me into my intro, which it shouldn't. But yeah, let's just see. Oh boy, all kinds of good stuff here. Well, like I said, if this thing goes in yeah, it's a totally different stream. I know. You know, it's all of those things I tried to do to make it automated, and unfortunately, I ran into with the one situation that is not planned for, which is me not being ready 5 minutes ahead of schedule. And so, anyway, my apologies for all of that, and yeah, just all kinds of fun stuff going on here. Yes, I know. All right, let's go ahead and get things kicked off. It's probably gonna. You know what? I really don't want to do anything until I know for a fact that it's not gonna auto send me to my opening page. So we're just gonna sit here and wait and talk for. Anyway, this will be one of the strangest and crappiest streams that I've done. 5 years of doing this. You would think that everyone that I would be forgiven with a thing like this. So yeah, not perfect. Okay, not perfect. Wish I could say I was, but I'm not. So we're gonna hold here for just a minute. I thank you for your patience. Just going to hold here until such things, till we know for a fact that this thing settles down, what it's supposed to. I don't lose it. I would if the auto script kicks off the incorrect spot. Look weird. That countdown is supposed to be it's supposed to be happening here in the background, I think. Provided that it hold here for just a second. How is everybody? Everybody doing okay? Obviously I'm discombobulated. There you go. I'm gonna hold here. Hold till such time as I know that it doesn't kick me out or kick me into something else, or that's the danger when you do these kinds of things. I digress. Yeah. Hold. We're gonna hold. We're gonna hold. Rumble should be up by now, I think. I see it. So yeah. Holding. Hold. 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 Yeah, like I said, guys, this is my fault. Just gonna hold for just another minute or two. This is my fault completely. Wild Dog USA 1, welcome. That's over on pill.net. Thank you very much for coming by. I'm going to hold right here. Okay. Posted a America logo, 1976 2026. Oh, looks like I got to scoot that down. Anyway. Oh, it should be up. You gotta refresh, I think. All right, I think I think we've done enough now. So anyway, if something does happen, don't worry, it'll come back. Anyway, what a mess. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Tonight is Jarhead 13 from over on Rumble for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand to remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. Place your hand over your heart. Follow along with oh well, but back out. There we go. Yeah, follow along with with Jarhead 13 as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and I thank you, Jarhead 13, for that wonderful rendition of the Pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the Pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the Pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, or whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email. And send it on over to me by addressing that email to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. If you want to use your phone to record it, don't forget to use the share option. That's the SHARE option. The share option will get you to the same place. And yeah, so all you have to do is send it to fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online, and that will get you into the. And I'm seeing Rumble. Rumble is up. Rumble is up. Is up. Yeah, I've got no, it's not Three Chevy's fault. It's not the it's not anybody's fault really, other than right here, just truly. I know, I screwed up. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on. We're gonna move on. All right. Just like any other leftist lunatic, there's this guy in Texas, name's James Talafrico. Yeah. And apparently he is just like every other Democrat. Hey, if you are a Black American, I feel so sorry that Democrats treat you so badly. I really do. Because every single Democrat and leftist that's out there, they all think you're too stupid to get voter ID. Same thing goes with pretty much any person of color at this point. They all think that they that you, I should say, they all think that you don't possess the ability to actually like look things up on your phone that you have in your pocket, or be able to ask questions or directions if you're confused, or to be able to figure it out all on your own. See? During a recent campaign event, Talarico parroted the leftist lie that Black people can't figure out how to obtain identification so they can vote in elections. I'm sorry, but humanity, I'm just serious. I think humanity in terms of a leftist is gone. These people, they're so, I want to say the word condescending. I mean, literally, it's the soft bigotry of low expectations. That's essentially where it boils down to. But they're so condescending over the fact that I, meaning a Democrat, not me, but I am a great white hope. All Democrats seem to think this. Well, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing with your money. So I will tell you how to do it. You don't know what you're doing with your, with your job. You have no idea. But I have the ability to tell you. And yeah, you can't think for yourself. You must follow me because I know how you should vote. I know better than you how to spend your money. I know better than you how to clean up the planet. I know better than you how to whatever. Just put it in whatever. And these people, they're so damn dumb themselves. And yet they think, I'm the smart one in the room. I have a college degree. Really? You're actually, and you can't quite, you have a college degree and you can't quite figure out that people, many people, survive, okay, without your help every single day, and know how to get ID because they're using it every single day. They're buying, I don't know, what are some of the things that you have to buy with an ID? Well, let's see. Over-the-counter medications, some of them, yeah. You have to write a check sometimes with an ID. Oh, you have to drive a car with an ID. You can't buy alcohol or cigarettes without an ID. And yet, for some damn reason, these people think that, they can't get an ID. I think I've shown you the list before. We all know there's memes running around of all the things that you have to have an ID for. And these leftists are like, well, they can't get an ID. I mean, they're a black person because they're too stupid. No, it's what? What? Anyway, he was attacking, as they all do, attacking the Save America Act, which requires voters to provide proof of citizenship before registering to vote. And potentially, you have to have a photo ID at the voting booth when you go to vote. Anyway, he goes, and this is his quote. No, actually, I think this is his quote. Yeah, let's go and take a look over here. Not that I'm really wanting to necessarily have you guys listen to this idiot moron, but well, let's just go ahead.
We as human beings have the right to shape our own destinies, and we do that through the vote. And so many brave Americans, so many brave Black Americans have fought and died for that right. And so for politicians in Austin or in Washington, as they're now doing with the SAVE Act, they are trying to rob our neighbors, particularly our Black neighbors, of those God-given rights. So
Oh, wait. Did you catch that? He said particularly of our Black neighbors. People, they're so freaking just make me sick. And they sit here and they blame the Republicans. They blame all the conservatives. They're like, oh, you guys are racist. You're racist. Yeah. Yeah. Listening to him lowers my IQ. Yep. That's true. Yeah. Oh, I just can't do it. I just can't. Good point, Fernando. If you're not smart enough to get an ID, you probably aren't smart enough to vote. Oh, anyway. I don't know, guys. I see that and I shake my head and I get, or it's just so damn dumb. Anyway, speaking of being damn dumb, and I'm not talking about this individual. This guy was awfully smart. Okay. In fact, he was so smart, he was smarter than before his time. The guy before him in the office, well, that guy, yeah, he made some serious allegations that, well, let's just say, for an actor, this guy is really, really smart. Take a listen.
Since then, he has blamed to the people for inflation, OPEC. He's blamed the Federal Reserve System. He has blamed the lack of productivity of the American people. He has then accused the people of living too well and that we must share in scarcity, we must sacrifice and get used to doing with less. We don't have inflation because the people are living too well. We have inflation because the government is living too well.
Well, we actually have more than that now. We have a $40 trillion debt. That's right. America has just surpassed the $40 trillion mark in debt today. Congratulations. Historical, all of this historical borrowing against the future. Yeah, guess what? Come to a head. Oh, it's going to keep going. I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong at all. Okay. It's going to keep going because written in the Constitution, it literally says the government cannot go bankrupt. So I have no idea where we're going to get this $40 trillion. And honestly, I don't think that anybody can actually, honestly visualize in their head or comprehend the amount $1 trillion is going to be. And don't get me wrong, this is a number so big that it's really hard to actually comprehend. It's hard to figure out. And there's no real good way to represent it in any way, shape, or form other than numbers. See, most people look at numbers and they kind of glaze over and they're just like, oh, I don't care. I'm going to break it down to you like this. The federal government cannot and does not produce anything other than headaches. Government does not produce anything. Government cannot give to somebody else anything that it doesn't take away from somebody else. Government produces nothing other than the aforementioned headaches. See, I really don't understand why anybody sits here and thinks that we can run this. If this were a business, honestly, if government were a business, we'd be, bankrupt, gone. Government would have folded a long damn time ago, being $40 trillion in debt. This is it. This is it. I don't know what to tell you. And there's several particular areas that if we were to cut immediately today, if we were to just say, okay, that's it, money's gone, we're done, and shuttered the doors, it would still take us years to get pulled out of all of it. Decades. And it's not getting any better either. I mean, here's an example just to kind of show you what we're talking about here. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. I'm gonna try and center it. There we go. I know. Ooh, sorry. So this was back in 2021. And what this chart is showing you is essentially total federal spending for that fiscal year. Now, this was part of the reason why I was late. I was trying to find charts that were a little bit more up to date so that you could actually see this. Oh. Okay, so 3 Chevy has shown us what a trillion looks like. It takes 10 billion $100 bills to make up a $1 trillion stack. Now, that particular stack of $100 bills is 100,679 miles high, approximately. That's farther than, I think, from here to the moon, if I recall correctly. I mean, oh, holy crap. That is a lot. That's a lot. Well, I don't even think, I mean, I know you could wrap around the world multiple times. Oh, sorry. 679 miles. I'm sorry. My bad. It was $100 bills, 679 miles high. That sounds a little bit better. Thank you for correcting me and for figuring that out. Because, yeah. Anyway, 679 miles. That's 2 gas tanks, most people. Because most cars can only do about 320, 350 miles on a tank. Anyway, most cars, not all cars. But anyway, back to this chart. So we're sitting here and we're looking at this chart, and I know people have been smacking me around whenever I say this, and I understand there is a emotional component to this, but you need to understand I am not talking about emotions here. I am talking pure facts. Social Security, unemployment benefits, labor, Medicaid, Medicare, all of that stuff, education, okay, housing, all of these things, transportation, international affairs might fall into it. But many of these science, oh my gosh, science? What? Yeah. All of these things, especially the blue and the yellow in this chart. So, I mean, seriously, this guy right here. Yeah, look at that. This is the total fiscal spending for the year of 2021. That that in and of itself, Social Security, unemployment, and labor, by itself, 2.81 trillion dollars, comprises almost 40% of the government. Okay, of government spending. Then you go to Medicaid and healthcare. That comes in at a whopping 1.61 trillion. These are 2021 dollars. I was trying to get 2025, which would have been a lot easier, but I ended up running out of time. Both of those, blue and yellow, in this chart have literally zero responsibility, according to the Constitution, for the federal government. Neither one of those two. And that's 22.67%. And what did I say? What did we say the other one was? 38. Yeah, 39.62. 39.63. Those two alone make up over 60% of the government spending. I'm sure I'll get corrected by the math. But those two alone make up 60% of our spending. 60%. And they're not even a part of the federal government's responsibility, according to the Constitution. 60%. The military, which is this green slice right here, the military doesn't even top $1 trillion. In fact, it's a little bit of ways away from it. It's only $773.28 billion. It only comprises 11% of the government's spending. Now, look, I'm just simply saying, and again, you can argue with me, you can yell at me, you could beat me over the head, although I'll probably take offense to that one. The fact of the matter is the vast majority of our spending, modern spending today, has nothing to do with anything that the Constitution says the federal government is supposed to be doing. And they're trying, they, meaning the left, are trying to get us to do more. They're trying to get us to do more. And you sit here and you look at a chart like this and you're thinking to yourself, okay, let's go back here to the Social Security. Everything else that's in this chart, for the most part, I mean, things like food and agriculture, housing and community, veterans benefits, you can argue completely. That one, because even though it doesn't say it, it's still part of it. Those 18 enumerated items in Article 1, Section 8. The military and national defense spending is pretty much covers a full 1/3 of those items. If you're a longtime Whiskey Warrior P1, you'll know that. And yet here we are spending 40% of our budget, almost 40%. It's probably around 40% today. 40% of our budget on it. But here's the thing. And this is really gonna toast your cookies, because here's a chart that demonstrates to you there's a difference between the share of expenditures, and this one in particular is Medicaid, meaning that this is what everybody thinks we're spending, what's been told to us that we're spending, but here is the actual, in comparison, amount that we're spending. The actual share is in the light blue. Really? So the percent of total Medicaid spending, if you look at this, has significantly increased since, what was it? What was that landmark legislation that passed in 2008, 2009 time frame? You know, when was that? What was that? I think it's called the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. Yeah. Landmark legislation that went around. Look at this. Just look at this chart. Ever since the ACA has been included, this chart has exploded. Since 1991, now granted, again, I keep pointing out, this is 60%. Originally, it was 60%. Okay, but since 1991 all the way up into, 2008, 2009, it kind of roughly held right around 60%. And I would love to run my house on, seriously. I would love to run my house's budget on this. Yeah, I make, $100,000 a year. I don't. I'm just saying, using it for easy math. I make $100,000 a year, but our expenditures are $200,000. So I have a 100% increase in my debt to income ratio. I'm actually in the negative there. And so I'm still going to be able to do this, debt to income. Yeah, you know what would happen if I were to walk into a bank and say, hey, you better loan me that additional $100,000? They would laugh me out of existence. They would laugh me out of existence. And, folks, we are spending, meaning the government, are spending way too much money. Way too much money. I mean, here's another graph just to give you an idea. This again, it's showing it in a different fashion, but here's your incomes on the left, things that are coming in green, and your outlays, those going out in blue. I mean, you can take a look at the top. So here's the top two. There's the top two incomes right there. Individual income taxes is only bringing in roughly $2 trillion. We'll call it 2.4 trillion. Social Security and retirement, which of course is not even supposed to be used in any kind of way other than for Social Security and retirement, because whether you know it or not, the Ponzi scheme, the original intent was that you would pay money in, it would go into a special account that is held just for you, and you would eventually draw off of that money. Well, guess what? That ain't even close, because they spent it a long time ago. And so what you're doing now is everybody that's paying into Social Security and retirement right now is now paying the people who are using it. It's basically, for the most part, a pass-through. And it's even a bad pass-through, too. Because it's not going anywhere. You know, Coco, I had a really big conversation with Steven Stiles. You may remember this. He keeps talking about this. He keeps saying, hey, look, you can shut down Social Security anytime you want. Go ahead and shut it down. But everybody who paid into it needs to get the money back. Sorry. This is no different than the thief who comes walking up to you when you're pulling money out of the ATM. I think it was Planes, Trains, and Automobiles or something like that. You know, where Steve Martin goes up to the ATM and you have the LA robber standing there. And he comes and you hand him, you pull out like $40 or whatever, and you hand the guy $10 because you've pulled it out, you know, and you just, you give him a percentage. Well, you know, guess what? I'm sorry. That money's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. It's part of that $40 trillion that is owed to some other bank. See, this is why whenever you ask somebody, and I'm serious, I mean, this is why whenever you ask somebody, hey, come up with a plan to, like, draw this down, change the way this works, draw this down, make it go away. Come up with a plan for it. And you can't. Because you cannot give somebody something that doesn't exist. Steven and I were talking about it. I'm like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. There is nothing left. We are living literally on borrowed money. We're robbing or borrowing from Peter to go ahead and pay Paul. We have nothing. That's the thing. That's the thing. And people don't seem to get this. And we have some problems too, even if you just ignored all of this in terms of the money and the money coming in and the money going out. If you ignored all of this, there's a bit of a problem too. And Milton Friedman, especially when dealing with healthcare. I know I keep ripping on healthcare, but healthcare is one of the bigger expenditures. I mean, Social Security, again, was originally designed to be a short-term solution, and it became a long-term problem. Social Security was supposed to be one part of what was colloquially described as a three-legged stool. You were supposed to have your own retirement savings. You were supposed to have your retirement from your company, and then Social Security. And that's how it was supposed to work. Okay? That isn't what's happening here. That isn't what's happening here in terms of that. But then you go and you look at like Medicare and Medicaid, for an example, and all of the welfare benefits and everything else that are running around, most of it medical. But all of that stuff that's running around, and Milton Friedman actually, he talked about this. He's like, look, the third-party payer system, which is exactly what the ACA is, the third-party payer system is the primary driver of inefficiency and high costs in U.S. healthcare. You know, everybody talks about Medicare for all. You think Medicare for all is going to fix everything? It's not even going to come close. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I hear you, 3 Chevy. It was actually, stuff like that got cut down long damn time ago. Long damn time ago. Yeah, I really got to move. I don't know how I'm going to do it. All right. I mean, this is the thing. I just don't understand why we're sitting here and we're not looking at the government and going, oh my God, you guys are just nuts. Well, I think a lot of it is a lot of people don't understand simple economics. But anyway, I digress. Getting back to Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman talked about it. He's like, look, when the patients don't actually directly pay for their care because employers and insurance companies or the government covers the cost, the incentive to actually economize, meaning making things cheaper, faster, and better, ideally, goes away. His analysis on this whole third-party payer system rests on 2 key observations. The first one is the separation of the payment and the consumption. Because again, as he described this, it's very simple. It's very simple. If you're sitting here, you think of 3 people, okay? You have a buyer, you have a seller, and you have the payer. Now, the buyer wants the product. And the buyer wants as good of a product as they can possibly get for the money. Okay? Now, if the buyer were spending his or her own money, they would want to get the maximum they could get for the cheapest that they could get. Now, the seller is trying to sell something. And whatever this something is, they want to get the maximum amount of profit with the least amount of effort. And usually, if it's just a buyer and a seller making the negotiations, you come up with what is considered to be we'll call it an equitable solution. Everybody may not get everything that they want, but they at least get some of what they want. And it's usually done in such a way that efficiencies are met, like the seller figures out how to make products at a cheaper cost, and the buyer tries to buy the product at a cheaper cost. And so things kind of start shifting up and down and going down and get to a certain point where it's almost like it figures it out to be a long-term solution. And as long as costs stay the same and everything, the price generally will equalize and so on and so forth. Well, now let's enter the third-party payer. So now the seller is selling the product. Buyer is buying the product. The buyer is not paying for the product, so they don't even care how much it costs. All they care about is the quality. Okay? The seller wants to sell it for as much money as he possibly can. But depending upon what happens in terms of with the buyer, he can generally come off with something that is, medium quality or whatever. The third-party payer gives a crap, either one. He doesn't care. Because first of all, as a third-party payer, especially in the form of government, it's not his money. It's not government's money. It's actually taxpayer money. And so he doesn't really care how much money it costs to buy this thing. And he sure as hell doesn't care the quality of the product because he's not the one using it. And so what ends up happening with this whole thing is you end up with a situation where you have poor quality for high cost. And that's where we're at in today's Medicare, Medicaid, medical situation. And by the way, nobody is happy at any of this because you have doctors who are getting complaints from patients on the quality of the health care, and the doctors are having to talk and whittle or, negotiate, let's say, with the third-party payer person. They're not even receiving the care, so why should they care? And they don't. They might say, you know what, we're only going to pay, $5 for a thing that lasts, or for a procedure that's like $100,000. Yeah. This is a quote from Milton Friedman. Nobody spends somebody else's money as wisely or as frugally as he spends his own. And when you start adding the bureaucrats involved, yeah, it's quite a mess. Quite a mess. So he talked about where this came from, and basically this whole system, this third-party payer system that is just crashing our healthcare system. Because it's the same thing. It's not just the government. It's also insurance companies. Insurance companies are doing the same thing. But he traced the system to Milton, Mr. Friedman, traced the system to World War II wage controls, which incentivized employers to offer tax-exempt health benefits. And then, of course, there's the 1965 creation of Medicare and Medicaid, which expanded the government itself as the third-party payer. So, yeah. Now, Friedman proposed a solution. Number one, he was like eliminating tax exemptions for employer-provided medical care to allow employees to receive cash wages and purchase their own insurance. In other words, get the employers out of the business. And then he says restrict insurance to cover only major medical catastrophes rather than all of the routine expenses. Okay. Then he says expand medical savings accounts to allow for individuals to pay for routine care directly, which restores market discipline and price sensitivity. And that's his solution to this Medicare Medicaid problem. And I think the number one thing we need to do is get government out of the healthcare system altogether. Well, the other piece out of all of this, especially when you're talking about third-party payer, is the third-party payer doesn't even care if the money is actually really used for what it is that it should be used for. That's right. So, according to this report out of the Government Accountability Office, in the 20 years between 2003 and 2023, the GAO estimates the total money blown on payments that were made in error or in the wrong amount that has no documentation. Guess what? Anybody want to guess what level, whether it's millions, billions, or trillions? Which one do you think we have? Which one do you think we have in terms of the amount of fraud between 2003 and 2023? Meaning error, payments made in error, wrong amounts, so on and so forth. Well, it's too long for me to wait. $2.7 trillion just by itself. 2.7 trillion, folks. That's 2 followed by a 7 followed by 11 zeros. Now that by itself is just double what was spent last year on Medicare and Medicaid combined, even on Social Security. Now here's the thing. What people don't seem to get is we have this thing called interest that we pay on the debt because somebody had to finance that and they're looking to gain back money. Most of it's coming from China. And so now we not only owe that 2.7 trillion, but we own that 2.7 trillion plus interest. And that interest keeps compounding every single year. And you wonder why we're in this whole thing in terms of why we're at $40 trillion. And then you have these things, folks. These keep coming back and forth. Take a look at this. Feds sue North Carolina man, Dallas company, over an alleged $4.6 million Medicare fraud scheme. Because again, with that third-party payer system, why? The government doesn't give a crap. It's not their money. They're not the ones spending it. So who cares? The oversight is zero in some cases. I mean, this is why we are in $40 trillion in debt. $40 trillion in debt, people. And this is again a item that is not something the federal government should be spending taxpayer dollars on anyway. But that's not even all of it. Oh, hey, by the way, you remember that Feeding Our Future? Oh, yeah, the SNAP benefits. Oh, yeah. You know, feeding kids and everything. Oh, sounds perfectly wonderful on its face. And again, there is an emotional component here. Because the emotional component are sitting here and they're like, yeah, you know, we got to make sure that the kids are fed because, you know. But I'm speaking purely from a numbers of dollars and cents kind of thing. Well, that whole Feeding Our Future, that was to the tune of $250 million. The 23rd person has been sentenced to prison for that. That's right. That was the Feeding Our Future fraud scheme. You know, the one that Tim Walz said, I feed kids during the campaign. Yeah. That's another one. Well, the good news is that Trump and the Trump admin is looking to flesh all of this stuff out. They're looking to dig after all of this stuff. And here in the New York Post, Trump admin axes refundable tax credits for illegal migrants, saving taxpayers. Yeah, that's a B. $3 billion. Now wait a minute. Hold up. Okay, I got to ask the question. And I don't know. I don't think there's really a good answer here. Why is it that illegal aliens, people who are criminals who came here without any documentation, how is it that they're getting tax credits refundable? How are they getting these? What about the American people? The American people who have been working off of their backs or working off their asses to get this stuff done. Sorry, I got to stop this flashing. But anyway, Trump admin axes refundable tax credits for illegal migrants. What? So, yeah. So the Trump administration is cutting illegal aliens off from getting kickbacks from 4 major refundable tax programs. A move that's supposedly going to save taxpayers an estimated $3 billion. The Treasury and the IRS unveiled the new rules yesterday to tighten the requirements for the Adoption Child American Opportunity and Earned Income Tax Credits so that only U.S. citizens, U.S. nationals, and qualified aliens can get them, meaning legal aliens. Seriously. Why is our government even giving money back? I mean, I've never really understood that. I really haven't. I mean, they're giving money back to people who never put it in. I mean, seriously. Anyway. So, yeah. Here's a great thing. You know that whole socialist, Zoflake, Ma'am Danny? Yeah. He apparently took people on a field trip to one of his socialist supermarkets, the government-owned supermarkets. And he plans on opening 5 government-controlled grocery stores, which we've already talked about. He's going to try and cut prices on everyday items by up to 30%, which basically means he's going to subsidize with the New York City government's money, your taxpayer dollars, New York City, up to 30%. Anyway, he took city officials on a tour with a group of prospective vendors as well to tour the site that he plans on using in Harlem. He dressed them up in high visibility vests, hard hats. Everybody was ready for the muddy boots tour of the construction site. Yeah, guess what? There was an empty parking lot. There was no construction with it. There's trash blowing across the vacant lot and not a single sign to suggest that Ma'am Danny's supermarket was going to arrive any time soon. Now, this is the planned $30 million city-owned grocery store in East Harlem. And it literally was, I mean, here's an image of, you can't, I mean, there's the image of those folks. They're standing around. Yeah, this is going to be a wonderful store. And there's, oh, and by the way, apparently, Ma'am Danny, who's for the working people, and we're going to end on this. Ma'am Danny's working class citizens that he absolutely loves, and yes, it is an underpass. or that was an image of an underpass. But, he really loves his teachers and everything else. Well, apparently New York City at one point had put in a bill that was planned to give teacher aides a one-time $10,000 payment. Well, guess what? Damn Danny, the Snowflake, he sued the city council in order to block these payments. Wait, I thought he was for the working person. I thought he was for the teachers. I thought he was for all of these people in New York who aren't making it and trying to make things more affordable. Well, one way you can make things more affordable is pay people more money. Yeah. Anyway, the council apparently passed the bill last month with what was literally a veto-proof majority for them. And it lapsed into law because it didn't have the mayor's veto, which council members would have likely overridden anyway. So now he's suing them. He's saying that the bill overstepped the council's authority and set a perilous and unlawful precedent with huge fiscal consequences. Oh, like your $30 million government-owned, city-owned market isn't going to do that. No. And he continues and says, for the city's educational department, the city at large, and by extension, the taxpayer public. The office or the suit argued that if the paraprofessional pay bill is allowed to stand, other public employees will undoubtedly seek their own stabilization payments from the council. Oh, so in other words, you start handing out free money, more people show up to get free money? Oh, gee. That's the entire socialist system right there. Right there. Anyway, all right, folks, that's it for this evening. Talk about stupid. People are just stupid. Anyway, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified that every time. Also, too, don't forget to check out pilled.net, Pilled.net, my new streaming platform that I stream to. And then for that, give me, before you take off, a thumbs up, which would be a red pill, thumbs down, which would be a blue pill, or a thumb sideways, or at an angle across all my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, Pilled.net, and the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.